Holy City Center Radio, it is episode number 62, and I am your host, Christian Sanger. Thanks for coming back for another week. We have an awesome guest, as always. It is Tylar Brannon. She is the CEO of Optimal Bio, which offers bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. They're Charleston's first and only medical practice that focus solely on that. It opened in Mount Pleasant back on September 6th. You can find them at 590 Lone Tree Drive, Suite 103. Full disclosure, I know next to nothing about this, so I'm excited to learn what it exactly is that this company does and the types of services they provide, and I'm sure there's many of you out there who also are unaware, so should be a learning experience for for all of us, not both of us. I hope there's more than one person listening, but maybe there's just one of you out there, if even. Yes, I'm looking forward to you all hearing that interview. Outside of that, not a whole lot going on. We're recording this kind of on a weird day for us, so no real news to catch up on. The only thing I wanted to say is this will come out here on Halloween. So happy Halloween to those of you listening on Monday. But more importantly, I know that it might shock some of you, there's something more important than celebrating Halloween, the spooky season holiday. It's almost November, starting back on October 24th. You can start voting early in South Carolina. It's open to everybody. You don't need an excuse like you may have needed in the past. You can get more information at scvotes.gov, so that's .gov. You can see like your sample ballots. You can look up what candidates are on some of those down ballot races maybe you don't know much about, kind of look into, what they've said publicly, their stances on different issues, and then, go find your early voting location. Of course, if you prefer to wait till Election Day, you can certainly do that. But definitely get out there and vote. It seems like we say this all the time, but the elections are always really important, and this one feels very, very, very important, especially in some of those down ballot races. Superintendent, included in those here in South Carolina. So yes, please go vote. And if you didn't register in time, you can't vote, unfortunately, but get that registration in so you can be sure to participate the next time around. So that's it for now. We're going to get right into that interview. I'm really excited for you all to hear this discussion with Tylar Brannon. And joining me now is Tylar Brannon, CEO of Optimal Bio. I can't wait to learn all about this company and the types of services they provide. I'm very, very interested. This is all very, very new to me, as I mentioned, so I'm excited to learn. Tylar, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. Yes, we're very excited to give a little education about, as you said, bioidentical hormone therapy. You don't know a lot of people don't know a lot about, so our job is definitely to educate for sure.
Fantastic. Before we get into that education of your business, let's learn a little bit about you. Just to give my listeners just a little bit of an idea of who you are, where you grew up, or, anything you think is important as far as you as a person and your background.
Yeah, so I grew up in Cary, North Carolina, which is right outside of Raleigh. And then I went to NC State here in Raleigh for undergrad. And after that, I made my way to the great state of South Carolina. And I went to law school at the University of South Carolina. And while I was in law school, I knew I always wanted to be on the business side of things. So I also got my MBA. And after that, I moved to DC and worked up there for a little bit. And growing up, I always thought I wanted to be a doctor. So it's kind of full circle now that I work for a medical company. And when I moved back to Raleigh, the medical director that I work with happens to be my father. And he was an OBGYN for over 30 years in Cary. And one of his friends back in 2012 actually started doing bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, reached out to Greg, the medical director here, Dr. Brannon, and said, you should try this. This is great. And so we'll get more into that because after this. But so long story short, I joined him. He asked me to come work with him, and that was 2018, 2019. Since then, we rebranded, started Optimal Bio, and have opened 6 locations so far across Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina, and have hired a team of almost 30.
Wow. Yeah. So the company's been growing fairly quickly, it seems. And the location in this area is in Mount Pleasant and opened back on September 6th. Have you been at that location, or are you based somewhere else?
Yes, so I am based out of Cary. Our Cary location is like our headquarters, but no. So I help open all the offices, and then I actually travel to each office about once a week. So about every 6 weeks, I'm in one of our locations. And so in September, I was in Charleston for about 3 weeks on and off. So helped open that office. So I've been down there quite often.
Very cool. So
Yes.
we've got a little bit of background on yourself and how the company started. But what exactly is Optimal Bio? What is your mission, and
Yes.
and what sort of work do you all do?
Yes. So Optimal Bio is a medical company with 6 medical practices. And so we see patients at all 6 of our locations, and we specialize in hormones, but more importantly, we specialize in bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, which is a mouthful for sure. But so what does it mean? And bioidentical means is all natural. So it's the exact molecule that our body already produces. So our body knows how to metabolize it. So there's not negative side effects like a synthetic hormone. And as we age, our hormones decrease. But because of environmental factors, our hormones are decreasing at a lot quicker rate. And what people don't realize is, when people think about hormones, they may think about, the teenage years or menopause, right? But not any time in between. But hormones have over 500 functions in our body. So essentially, any function that our body does, testosterone touches. And so if we don't have enough testosterone, or we don't have it, our hormones are not balanced, our body's not going to be able to function properly. And so a lot of the main symptoms we see are fatigue, just tired of being tired, brain fog, my brain is not functioning properly, anxiety, depression, of course, menopause symptoms. And then we also deal with PTSD, TBI. So a full spectrum of, patients that we see in different locations.
Very interesting. Yeah, I knew a little bit, I knew hormones were a little bit more than the examples you gave, but definitely didn't realize how much they could affect. I was surprised for you to hear you say like anxiety and PTSD. You wouldn't think, for someone like myself who's not in the medical field and study it, be surprised to hear how much your hormones can affect, certain brain functions or the way your body responds to, certain like I think of anxiety specifically, something that makes you anxious. I didn't realize a hormone treatment could help with that.
Exactly. And there's NIH, the NIH has an incredible study that shows the lower testosterone levels, the higher anxiety and depression, because of how testosterone actually protects our brain and helps with that. And that's why if you think about it, a lot, or talk about it, a lot of women have more anxiety than testosterone. And that could be because women usually have less testosterone than men on ratio. Of course, women should always have less testosterone than men, but on ratio, women should have more testosterone than estrogen in their bodies. People always think of testosterone as a male hormone, but females actually need it as well. And so we always say for both men and women, testosterone, like gas to a car is testosterone to our body. And when you get your labs ranges back, and it says any type of labs you get, your blood work, it says normal range. Well, what's normal range? And it's the average of the population. And so every year, the normal range of testosterone decreases. So you may go to the doctor and you're like, hey, I'm having these symptoms. What's going on? And they may say, oh, your testosterone is in normal range. But it's like, I don't feel well. And so our average, we say you go to a lab, you get your blood work back as a male, the normal range for men testosterone is 200 to 900, which huge spectrum.
Right.
And then, so like a 200 to 900 in anything you're going to look at, that's a very, very wide spectrum. And then our goal range for men is 900 to 1200. And you say, well, where do you get that level from? And that was the average of the population just 30 years ago, like our grandparents. And if you look back, they had less anxiety, less depression, brain fog, fatigue. Of course, many different factors play into it. Like we were talking about environmental factors, but that's how we use, we really want that optimal range, right? You don't want that normal, especially it's based off of your symptoms. Like how are you as a person feeling is more important than you might be normal range on your blood work.
Right. And that makes sense. If someone was whatever their range was for years and years and years of their life, and then there's a big drop for whatever reason, even if they're in the normal range, they might feel differently than they used to, even though they're in a range that is considered normal.
Completely.
So that definitely makes sense. It's all relative based on what you are used to feeling, how you're used to feeling.
Exactly. And you bring up such a great point because the patient we treat so specifically, and, we're so thankful for the medical, care we have in the United States, but it's really gotten away from that personalized and individualized healthcare and that patient. So each patient, doesn't matter if you're a 32-year-old female, your treatment that you're going to get is based off of your blood work, your symptoms, your activity level, to what do you feel optimal, not just what a big set of people may feel optimal at.
So is this, with that treatment, talking about being more personal with this type of treatment, is that different than for folks who may have previously or people who still do to go to the synthetic route? Because you mentioned synthetic hormones before. Is that more of a one size fits all? Like, hey, if you're feeling this way, this is the prescription or whatever. Or in your version is more personalized?
Exactly. That's a great question. And so, we, like a cream or a shot, which are both can be synthetic, or a pill. So one, it has chemicals and additives in it. So your body and the actual hormone molecule is not representative of the hormones that we have in our body. So our bodies don't know how to metabolize it. So they kind of just get stuck in there. And that's why the negative side effects of hormone treatment can happen, whether it's, acne, heart attacks, cancers. The people think of like hormone treatment, you can get cancer, rage. That's not the way bioidentical hormones work, because like we said, it's all natural and it's personalized to you. And so how we dose every person, it's blood work. So we get your blood work, height, weight, activity level, and symptoms. So it's the exact dose that they need to get into that optimal goal range. And then you'll be able to metabolize it, and it actually gets into a goal range within 4 weeks. And then you stay constant because it's all natural. Your body knows when to use it and how to use it. So there's no peaks and valleys like a cream, like a shot, that also can cause those negative side effects.
You've mentioned a few different things that people might come to one of your locations for treatment for. You said fatigue was a big one. You've mentioned brain fog. There's a whole list of different things on your website, if people are interested. But outside of those, what are some of the other, reasons people come in to get treated for?
Yeah. And so, yes, there's a whole list of symptoms. So say women during menopause, so hot flashes, night sweats. And then we talked about TBI, PTSD can heal from that. And then also, because it's all natural, it actually acts preventative. So if your testosterone, your hormone levels are in goal range, it actually prevents against osteoporosis, heart attacks, dementia. So it helps those day-to-day symptoms and how you feel, but also protects your body as you're aging.
Interesting. So it's not just treating the, whatever the underlying symptom is that they came with, but can help prevent it from other things from coming up in the future.
Exactly. Think about, when do women have heart attacks? It's after menopause, because that's when your testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone all drop.
Interesting. Very interesting. So for folks listening, maybe I have some of these symptoms, or I feel that way, and it's been a big change from when I was younger or a couple years ago or whatever. If they're listening, what do they need to know? What is the process like? Do they need a referral? Can they just make an appointment and come in and have a consultation and go from there? What's the process like?
Yeah, so no referral is needed. And actually, before you even come in, either we reach out to you if you fill out a contact form on our website, or if you call us. You'll have about a 20-minute to 30-minute phone call before you even come into the office for that consultation. And that time is just to answer any questions you may have, go over our process, go over our pricing, so that it's very transparent of what we do here. So I feel like sometimes, with healthcare or things that are sensitive to your health, your person, we want everyone to really know what they're walking into. So they're not, not knowing what to expect.
Right.
And so after that phone call, we schedule your consultation, like you said. You come in and really just dive deep in your health, your symptoms, your questions, why hormones, the science behind it, going over, BHRT pellets have been around, since 1937. So not a new treatment, but, not a lot of people know about that. And then after you have your consultation, you get your blood work done. We have a couple different options for your blood work. You can do it in our office. You can do it at different labs. And then after that, you come back in, review your labs with you, go answer any other questions, and then start treatment if you choose to do so.
You just mentioned pellet treatment. Prior to that, you'd mentioned, I think, with like the synthetic hormones, creams and things like that. Tell us a little bit more about what exactly the pellet is, how it works, and
Yes.
is that the only method you have for giving people their treatment?
Yes. So we only specialize in BHRT pellets because we believe they're the best route for hormones. And so we work with a compounding pharmacy called Qualgen. We have a great relationship with them, and they're the ones that actually make the pellets. And the testosterone pellet is made out of yam plant because for whatever reason, the yam plant molecule is the exact same as our testosterone molecule. So that's why our body knows how to metabolize it, And then, so men only get testosterone, and then women before menopause will also only get testosterone unless there's a one-off different symptoms. And then women right before menopause into menopause, depending on your FSH level, which is an indicator of where you're at with menopause, then you would get the estrogen pellet as well. And then if you're on estrogen, then you take progesterone. We do that via capsule, so orally. You take that at night because there is no progesterone pellet yet, but the capsule of progesterone is also bioidentical, meaning there's no synthetics, no chemicals, and no fillers in it.
Nice. And so the pellet is it injected? Is that my understanding?
Yes. So it looks like a grain of rice, and it's injected into your upper hip buttocks area, like where that most layer of fat is. And we use something called a trocar. It's like a metal straw, essentially. And so a tiny incision, we place the pellets right inside of there, and then they dissolve. And then it's about a 5-minute process. You're numbed up, and then we just use steri strips. So we don't even use a stitch or anything like that. And then the pellets will just dissolve. And we were talking about earlier when I say you stay in that constant state. So that's how you are able to stay in that constant state. It's inside of you. It's all natural, so your body knows when to use it. So you get up in that around 3 to 4 weeks, you get into that goal range. And then for women, you stay constant for about 3.5 to 4 months, depending on your activity level. Some people may burn through it quicker. And then men can last for about 5 months. And then you get a text reminder when it's time to get labs. And then based on your labs and how you feel is when you come in and get your next round of pellets.
Interesting. Very interesting. So BHRT, which is the abbreviation for that whole mouthful of what we've been talking about.
Yes.
Is this a relatively newer, field?
Yeah, so it's actually not. So the first time BHRT pellets was used in America was 1937.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So yes, quite a long time ago. But like you said, people don't talk about hormones. What's BHRT? Or you may think about hormones and you think about synthetic hormones. And so our biggest thing is education and showing, the patients, this is what we do. This is why we do it. This is the science behind it. And then you do what's best for you. And that's why we have that call before you come in, the consultation. And then any other follow-up consult you have with us is all free of charge because we really want to build that relationship with the patient.
Very cool. Now, and there may not be any, but since this has been around for so long, I was thinking maybe this is a little newer, but like you said, the conversations are a little bit newer. So are there any, I would imagine because of that, the lack of education, and you mentioned the education portion of it so important, is that because there are misconceptions or, anything that's out there that you are constantly feeling like you have to explain to people about this field and this treatment?
Yeah, I think, a couple different things. So one, people don't realize the importance of hormones and what hormones do in our body. And then, the misconceptions, people think about synthetic hormones that can cause cancer, can cause heart attacks. So I think that's when people think of that. That's what they may think about. And then just a lot of people, whether it be providers or just the mass public, are not educated in BHRT, in hormones, and the options. And some things like, say fatigue or brain fog, people may just think that's come with age, and that's not normal. You shouldn't have to deal with those symptoms just because you're getting older.
Circling back kind of to the local perspective in the Mount Pleasant location, which you said you were able to spend some time in. What can you tell us about that location? Obviously, it's brand new, so I'm sure it's nice and spiffy. Any particular things you want to call out about that location, or you think is particularly unique or interesting about it?
Yeah, so we were very excited to come down to Mount Pleasant, the Charleston area, and we have 2 wonderful providers down there and a great team. And yeah, it's a beautiful location. I might be a little biased, but it's right off of Long Point, so easy to get to. We just wanted to make sure, people weren't have to sit on the bridge, to get there. And it's just we love being in the community that we're in. And so we've been down now these past 2 months. We've had different meetings and we were at the Yoga on the Yorktown event a few weeks ago. And so we just love being able to get to the community, meeting people, how can we help others, and just, really, we truly believe in what we do, and we just love getting that education and that knowledge out to people so that they know that they just have different options.
You can definitely tell in hearing you talk about it that you're knowledgeable and that passionate about it, for sure. And, and as you mentioned, the whole education side of things on your website, in addition to what you would expect a website like this to have as far as information, there's also a section where it looks like you all have a podcast as well. So it seems like that's something that you all use to educate customers or potential patients as well.
Yes, you're exactly right. And so, yes, we have the podcast, we have the blog. And if you listen to the podcast, of course, hormones may come up, but it's really, all pieces of wellness. So, because of course we believe hormones are the foundation of your health, but then you need to know, okay, what are people eating these days? What are supplements you should take? What about mental health? What about, just kind of putting all those pieces together. And so just being able to record a podcast. I'm a huge podcast person. So just being able to have different mediums of education for patients or future patients, or not even maybe a future patient, but if they may come across our website and see that and learn something from it, that's why it's there, and that's why we do the podcast. And our providers are an incredible team, and it's great to hear from their perspectives and their thoughts on different topics that are on the podcast.
Anybody who's listening and interested in learning more, since we're talking about that, or whether it's listening to the podcast or they're ready to set an appointment for a consultation, what are the best ways to get a hold of you all? Where should people be directed if they want some more information?
Yeah, definitely. So you can go to our website and fill out a contact form. And once you fill that out, we will get back to you within 24 hours. We can send you a copy of our book. We have a book called The Hormone Handbook that gives us a great overview of why hormones, the science behind hormones. And then also you can give us a call. We have all of our phone numbers, the Charleston office phone numbers on there, or you can always call the Cary office phone number, and we can answer any questions that you may have.
And anything that we didn't go over that you think is important, like I said, I don't have a background in this. I didn't know really much about it. So maybe I missed something really important. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you want to make sure is out there, or just want to go over with my listeners?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just listen to your body. And I think it's been really great this past year, just whether you're scrolling through Instagram, on Google, the topic of hormone health and health in general is getting bigger and bigger. And I love to see that, just that being a conversation, so they can be like, okay, maybe this is what's going on, because we see so many patients that they've gone to the doctor and they just think this is normal. And we just really want people to know that the education and the tools are out there to feel better, now and then in the future.
Very cool. The website is optimalbio.com, where you can go. I'll put that in the show notes as well. Tyler, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I definitely learned a lot, and I'm sure I'll be looking into it some more because it sounds really fascinating and interesting to me. So I really appreciate you taking the time to educate me and anybody who's listening, and for taking time out of your busy day to do so. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. We were very excited to have this opportunity just to, get it out there of what we do and why we do it.
And that'll put a little bow on episode 62. Thank you so much to Tylar Brannon for stopping by and enlightening me and perhaps some of you on what exactly it is that Optimal Bio does. Very interesting and unique for sure. Outside of that, quick show. Sometimes we have some of these quick little shows. I'm sure you don't mind. I appreciate you stopping in, whether it's a quick little interview or, one of those longer shows where I'm rambling on and on about something. But you guys are great, and thank you so much. If you want to help out, rate and review this podcast, if the platform you listen on allows you to do so. You can also go to patreon.com/holycitysinner. To sign up for different levels. Sometimes I give out promo codes. Right now, if you do sign up for one of those tiers on Patreon, regardless of which one, the most recent promo code that I gave out and is good for the entire season is discounts on South Carolina Stingrays tickets. I have a partnership again with them this year. Some of you may remember, was it last season or has it been two? I think it was last season. I had a Holy City Center, one of the boards, where you see like the players check other players into. One of the boards had the logo on there, which was really cool. A little bit different this year. I don't have one of those boards, unfortunately, but I've partnered with them on some games, where they'll have my logo on, what to know before you go to the game. And we'll have some other things coming up this year. But as part of that partnership, I'm able to offer discounts to my listeners. So be sure to, when you go on Patreon, as soon as you sign up, you'll see that most recent post and you can get some discounts on tickets. So be sure to do that. You can also support the show by going to holycitycenter.com/shop. We've got some merchandise on there that you can purchase. And as always, hey, if you don't have any money right now, don't need any merch in your life or anything like that, completely understand. There are other ways to support the show and the website just by sharing it with people who you think may be interested. Or if you see me on the social media platforms, likes, retweets, and shares and all that good stuff always helps as well. So I appreciate everyone who does that. Also appreciate Lindsay Marie Collins, who produces each and every episode with her company LMC Sound System. Tyler Boone is another person who needs to be thanked for letting me use his music in each and every episode. And with that, we are signing off for the week. I look forward to speaking with you all again here shortly. And until then, good night and good luck.